Welcome to Productive Joy with Dr. Christie, where fun meets action.
Hi, friends. Welcome to Productive Joy. We have a return guest today, and I am so excited to reintroduce you to Dan Doerksen. Dan is so many fantastic things. He is a clarifier. He is a leader and a coach and a systems thinker. He's also a perpetual learner who is a brand new author, and we're going to talk about that. He's a dad to twins, and he is a CODP, which I just learned is a Certified Organizational Design Professional. And today he's our guest on Productive Joy. Welcome, Dan.
I'm so happy to be here, Christy. So I'm just going to assume that this is like rarefied air. I mean, I don't know how many repeat guests there are, but
you are only number two.
One of them.
You are number two of my repeat guests out of all 252 episodes. So that feels kind of good, huh?
Okay. Yeah, I can put that on my wall. I think that's going on LinkedIn, actually.
I think it should. He's sick. Return guest to Productive Joy. I wonder how many people could say that. Exactly one other person. Exactly one.
Exactly.
So, Dan, I am so excited to have you back. And the reason that we have you back is because you have become an author, and this book is something everyone needs. So let's back up and talk real quickly about what you talked about last time, because you work with leaders who manage others, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit of, I
was going to say, for those who actually caught the last episode, that was like very early on. It was like the book was an idea, and we were starting to design a survey around how might we actually hear from employees about which managers are different from the rest, and what do they do differently. And so the topic that we talked about last time was so in line with what you talk about, that let's make work fun. Work doesn't have to suck. Mm-hmm. And the key factor for that, research shows over and over again, is the manager. And so, I mean, go back, listen to that. I don't know what episode it is, but go back.
Me either, but we'll link it.
Yeah. And so to me, it's like, okay, so the research is so clear. And honestly, we know this, right? Like if you were to evaluate your best work experiences, and we do this all the time, we ask people the question, what makes work great? Inevitably, you're going to start talking about your supervisor or manager. Mm-hmm. If that's great, work feels good. If that relationship is sour, work feels terrible, right? I mean, it's just so one-to-one in some ways. And so we wanted to dig into that and say, okay, so if that's the case, then how can I make sure that I'm one of the good ones?
Yeah.
Right? How do I make sure that if my people, and I say that not possessively, but people on my team, if they're asked that question, they're answering it positively, right? Mm-hmm. So what do I need to focus on as a manager? And the truth is, most managers just don't know how to answer the question because, as we've said before, the vast majority of managers never receive any training whatsoever, right? So 85% of new managers have not been supported, coached, equipped in any way. It's just sort of like, here you go. Super important job. I hope you figure it out.
Because they were good at something to begin with, right? Like you were the best salesperson, now you manage the salespeople. Or you were the best widget maker, and now you manage other widget makers. So you've said a couple really powerful things already. And I think what I love about you, Dan, is you are that perpetual learner. You are somebody who is always thinking about what else can I do? What can I figure out? How can that happen? And it's turned into this book that is now like this guide for people to be fantastic managers. Why don't you just drop the name because it's fun, and then tell us how you went from a whole bunch of research to action.
Yeah, so the book title is You Can Manage. So it's meant to be empowering, like you can do it, right? I mean, regardless of who you are and how you got to this position, I really do believe that if you know and focus on these core areas, you can be one of the good ones. You can separate yourself from the pack and create a great experience for your team, and also make sure your team is performing and accomplishing their purpose. So You Can Manage, a practical guide to becoming the manager everyone wants.
There is so much power in that last part, that everyone wants, right? The uniqueness of that is that everybody needs something a little different, right? Like I might need somebody who is super hands-on, touchy-feely. Somebody else might need somebody who's just going to let them work. But there are traits that everyone needs, I'm guessing. And you found some of those, yes?
Yeah. Well, and you've already identified one of them, Christy. Know your people.
That part.
right? You don't have to look the same as every other manager, but you do have to know your team.
Yeah.
You got to know what personalities you have there, what makes them come alive, what are their strengths, what are their gifts. Christie, if you're on a team, a manager's got to know, like what are the best roles for Christie? How do we make sure that she feels empowered, has the autonomy she needs? And that might be so different than someone else. I remember leading someone years ago, and I was just instituting like a whole series of like new meeting rhythms and reports. I was adding structure to a team that had very little structure, and I was starting to worry that I might be becoming a micromanager. Okay, so there's kind of a spectrum between like absentee manager, they just like leave you alone, but that can feel like you're not supported, and micromanagement where it's like, oh, they don't trust me and they are in the details. And I was afraid that I was tipping towards the micromanagement scale. And so I just asked, in a one-on-one with one of my team members, I asked them, I was like, here's my concern. So here's the spectrum. Can you just be super honest with me? Which end of that spectrum am I leaning towards, right? So I thought I was going micromanaging. And they like hummed and hawed a little bit, and they're like, ooh, can I be honest with Dan? I don't know. And eventually he's like, I think probably you're a little bit closer to the absentee side. And I was like, what? So here I was concerned that I was getting too involved, and this guy could have used a little more Dan, right? You needed a little bit more support, a little more coaching. And so we dug into that, and I was like, tell me more. Like, what would that look like for me to kind of move the needle in a positive direction for you? And then I spoke to a different team member, and they're like, yeah, maybe a little bit micro, like we could. And so what I realized in that moment is my evaluation of how I'm showing up is often not accurate. I just need to ask them. And I need to adjust my approach based on who's on my team. So I'm not going to look like another manager, but you can look like the manager your team needs.
Yeah. Well, and you're each individual member of your team, right? Team collective, that's one thing, but then each person needs something unique. So I actually have over here on my wall a list of the ways that my team likes to be affirmed, right? So, you can do the affirmation test or whatever. And I look at it often. I have a big chunk of people who really just want quality time. So they want somebody to sit with them, problem solve with them, talk through things. And so we do our one-on-ones twice a week. But then I have others that are words of affirmation. They want to be told and told publicly. But I do have one that does not want to be told publicly. She wants to be told privately. If you don't know that, you step in it often, right? Like you're like, oh my gosh, everybody would love a gift card. No, actually, I really only have one receiving gifts on my whole list. So I think what I'm hearing is that you have to ask for feedback, and that the feedback that you get will likely be individualized, and then you have to listen to it, right?
100%.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we always run the risk of, you come out and you put out another book into a market that's got a lot of books about managers. And it's like, okay, so here's your job description. This is what it means to be a manager and to do it well. And I think you run the risk of being like, well, but there isn't one way. So how can you write a book like that when there isn't one way? And this, honestly, I think is one of the reasons this book took me 2 years to write. And I do have a co-author that's contributed, Chris Downey. The reason it took so long is because we kept bumping up against, like, what can we say honestly that transcends context, industry, team, and doesn't make us feel like, hey, there's a perfect way to be a manager and you better fit this mold, because that's not at all what we want to do. Really, what we're trying to create is, like, here are the Lego blocks, and we think these are super important Lego blocks, but you get to figure out, like, how to put them together and what you're going to build for your team, right? So here's the Lego kit, but there's directions, right? Yeah. And so that's kind of what we're creating. We really don't want to fit anyone into a mold. We just want to guide you to a place and say, we think with these categories, you're going to create something really great in your company.
Well, I think what you're creating unity and uniqueness, right? So there's some unity items. Those are the Lego blocks. Everybody needs these 5 blocks. But what you do with them, that's the uniqueness. And ultimately what you're doing is what you're telling the managers to do, right? So know your people. You are knowing your audience, and you're recognizing that everybody can pick up this book, but everybody's not going to walk away with exactly the same thing. And there's power in that. And I'm going to guess it took a full 2 years to get that bad boy written.
Yes. Well, because there's a polarity there between unity and diversity.
Yeah.
And we talk about, obviously there's value in diversity, but we forget that the other end of that polarity that you have to manage is unity.
Yeah.
And we need both of those things. So what as managers unites us? Like, what's the common bedrock that we can all stand on and be like, yes, this is important.
Yeah.
And on top of that, let's build this beautiful, diverse picture of what management can look like. So we're trying to create that unifying platform. And we're excited to see all the ways that people are going to kind of make that their own.
So I've had a little preview into the book, and I do know you well enough to know that this is going to be a duh statement. But a new phrase that I have coined recently is just human-focused leadership, right? Or human-forward leadership. And that's basically knowing your people, right? Knowing the humans first, figuring out what they need, and then worrying about the widget, the thing, the work. Because you can't do the second one without the first one. If you do, you're going to get pretty bland results. And I don't think anybody listening wants subpar results. So you're talking to a bunch of leaders who want a little more productive joy. They want a little more of that it factor that sets them apart. So what would you say to them, to all of our listeners right now, that they could do today that would shift into the whole idea of you can manage?
Yeah, well, I would love to share the framework.
Yeah.
But if you're looking for just one thing, maybe I'll save that to the end. But I think really we've said it already. This is a very human-centered approach to management. Okay, so you're going to find lots of stuff in here that, yes, you absolutely have to make sure the work that gets done well, that you do it by focusing on people and relationship and building a community. And so, so let's start here. Let's define what it means to be a manager, right? Because I feel like we're not always on the same page there, because we use the word manager in all sorts of ways. For some people, a manager is like one layer in a hierarchy. There's supervisor, manager, director, senior director, executive. And it's like, no, those are all managers, right?
Every single one of them.
It's not a title. It's not a level in a hierarchy. And sometimes we use the term manager to talk about someone who is managing a body of work, right? A project manager or an office manager that, they're not leading anybody. They don't have a team. They just have work to manage. And the truth is, in that regards, every single employee is a manager because they have work to manage. But that's not what we're talking about in this book, right? We're talking about people that are managing and leading a team of people and enabling them to do their best work, right? So there's both people and work. Those are the two kind of big buckets of what it means to be a manager. And we find that some live in one and some live in the other, and it's about finding the balance, right? I mean, we've all heard managers where it's like I like being a manager, but the people stuff, right? Oh, that's tough. Like if I could only not deal with the people stuff, and honestly, this is part of the problem is like, thank goodness we have HR so I can put all people stuff on them. And I just say, no, you have to take most of that back.
Yeah.
Right? As a manager, you own the people stuff, you own the work stuff. You're here to advance the work forward and to support and empower and enable the people to do that work. That's your job. Okay. So that's who we're talking to, is managers that fit that definition and description. Okay. So this is for CEOs, frontline supervisors. It's everyone that fits that definition.
And then there's a framework. Yeah. Tell us about the framework now that we've defined managers.
Yeah, that's good. So here it is. So the number one in our framework is honestly start with you. Okay. Being a great manager is not necessarily just about what you do. It's who you are. It's about your ways of doing, but it's also about your ways of being, right? So if I were to ask you to describe the best managers you've had in your career, likely you would list all sorts of things, but inevitably you would start listing aspects of their character.
Yep. They
were a good listener. They had empathy. They made space for me. They paid attention to me. They were affirming. They were self-aware. They were self-controlled. We would start to say things about who they are as a person. And that's so key, right? So being a better manager isn't about getting, and we do this in the book, don't worry. We spend a lot of time in the book telling you very practical activities that you can do, right, to improve your, and you'll appreciate this, Christie. kind of a framework in adult education between horizontal and vertical learning.
Yes.
And so horizontal is all about, let's get better at our ways of doing. These are the things we do, our skills, our competencies. So our book is going to help you do that. But our first essential is actually about the vertical axes.
Yeah.
This is your ways of being. Let's talk about your mindset, your beliefs, and how you show up. Because that's so critical, right? I mean, if we don't have a handle on, if we're not self-aware enough to say, hey, where am I? We don't have a sense of purpose of even how do I want to be experienced, right? That's such a core question for a lot of managers, is just pause, take a beat, and ask yourself, who do I want to be? How do I want to be experienced by the people in my team and in this organization? Okay, sometimes we move so fast, we don't just stop and reflect on that. And then we can begin to live into that reality, right? And so the first one really is about our personal growth, right? Let's evaluate, am I engaging authentically in work, right? If I'm expecting my employees to be engaged, am I engaged?
Yeah. And then the self-awareness to ask the question, right? Like, so there's power in all of that, the doing and the being. Love it.
Totally. And the research is clear. If a manager isn't engaged, isn't committed and enthusiastic about their work in the organization, the likelihood that their team or employees are engaged is almost nothing, right? And so I think we regularly need to ask ourselves, not only am I engaged, but what do I need to be engaged? Right? So as a manager, you have to take some responsibility on and be like, oh, I'm not engaged and it's their fault. It's leadership. They're not doing this and HR is not doing this. And it's like, no, as a manager, you own your engagement. If you are not engaged, it's up to you to identify your needs and then advocate for yourself and go figure out how to get them met. Right? This is our responsibility as leaders. And so we have to look at how we're growing personally and how we're engaging. So that's one. So my favorite practice in the book there is actually just a self-regulation guide. It's great. It gives you, it comes from just people much smarter than me about how do we actually regulate our emotions preemptively and in the moment, right? How do I make sure that I show up in that kind of calm, regulated space and I'm ready to listen and learn and be curious? That's really hard to do sometimes. Right.
So let me press pause for a minute, because you've given one, and you've given amazing detail on how to practically do it. So when people pick up this book, because they're going to want to pick up this book, and we're going to talk about how to do that, they're not only going to get the description, they're also going to get practical exercises that they can implement and utilize right away that are, is it workbook style? Is it like, how would I engage with, okay, where am I and where do I want to be?
Yeah. So in each of the 5 frameworks, this is a really light, easy to read book. You're going to get the framework. We'll tell you kind of this is what it means. And then here are, 3, 4, 5 practices that you can do. They're like, this is something you can do today, tomorrow, this week for yourself and for your team. And it's like step-by-step instructions. Do this first, do this next.
That's awesome.
Follow up in this way. And so it's meant to be really practical. Yep.
Okay. So who you are first, then what's number 2?
Start with you. The second one, very similar to what we talked about earlier, invest in people. Okay. Management is about relationship, right? There really is no 2 ways about it. It's about your one-to-one connection with each person on this team, right? It's, as you've said, do I know them? Do I care about them? Do they feel cared for by me? And that's such an important distinction. In our research, one of the highest correlating factors of do you trust your manager is, do they care for me? Do I feel cared for?
Yeah.
Right. So if people don't feel cared for, the likelihood that they'll trust us is very little. Yeah. Right. And that's the key distinction is not, do you care for them? Because most managers say they care about the people. We're well-intentioned. Not all employees say they feel cared for.
Right. Because you're making assumptions again. It goes back to you can't assume, you have to ask, go for feedback, most definitely. Okay. Number 3.
So that one's all about investing and how do we actually build trust and establish trust? Because again, that's the foundation. It's who you are. And then we move into that one-to-one relationship with people. We're building trust. We're showing care. Third is we zoom out a little bit more to building the team, right? So who's on your team? The team might be just one person. It might be you and another person. It might be you and 10 people, 12 people. It doesn't matter, but you've got a group of people that you have a shared mission around. And most teams, while they have so much potential, I mean, you know this, if you've ever been on a great team, Christie, it can be amazing, but it can also just be the worst.
And it's hard. It's hard because you also, when you have really talented people, it's like, oh gosh, how do I make sure that everybody's shiny and everybody gets to, yes, no, all the things.
Yeah, there's people dynamics, there's conflict, there's tension, there's miscommunication. And so there's a lot of employees that we talk to, and we talk to, thousands every year. They're just like, I give up. Like, I want to do work by myself. Like, I don't want to be on this team anymore. Just let me kind of be in my office and get this work done. Because teaming is hard, we kind of give up on it.
Yeah.
But there's so much untapped potential there. We know teams are capable of solving more complex problems, processing information better. They make wiser decisions. They produce more together, right?
Yeah.
The whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And so as managers, it's our job to help teams grow up and to go through the stages of development, which we'll talk about. Like, how do we move a new team from point A to point D, that we need to get them to this place of maturity where they're predictably and consistently performing in a high capacity, right? And so that's building the team. So there's a whole bunch of practices there. My favorite practice for that one is actually, you're going to love this because we already talked about it, is the role fit matrix. So this is an exercise that I tell managers to do often. And it's just a grid. Okay. So there's 4 quadrants, and the axes are, how interested are you in something? The vertical axis is your level of ability in something, right? And so if you have high interest and high ability, this is like, I love doing this part of my job and I'm great at it.
Yeah.
Okay. And so you can kind of go around all 4 quadrants, and inevitably there's some stuff where it's like, I don't like this and I kind of suck at it.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I'm doing it. But I tell you, the vast majority of employees never have an opportunity to identify that and say it out loud to their manager, and even more powerfully on the team. I've done this with so many teams. Inevitably, you're going to say some things like, you know what? I really don't like data analysis and spreadsheet. I'm bad at it and I don't care for it. And this is a real example that I did with the team. Someone else pipes up and they're like, I'm a spreadsheet wizard. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
You don't like that? And they're like, just give that to me. And honestly, this person did in 10 minutes what it took the other person 4 hours to do.
Oh, absolutely.
It just took one conversation. We're like, oh, well, let's move this box to this person, and we just saved time. And now this person loves their job a whole lot more than they did before. Both people did. Everybody wins.
I'm thinking about your matrix, and up here where your high ability and high interest people are, I would call that productive joy, right? Like at that
100%. Yeah.
The total definition is when I'm in flow and I can be doing something that I'm not only good at, but I really genuinely enjoy. And that's what we're trying to produce more of. So maybe we need to live in your number 3 and build that team, so that, because obviously if I'm by myself, I can't be good at everything. That's not how we're wired. We're wired to be able to lean into something specific. So I love it. Okay, so that's 3. What's 4?
Yeah, so we've got the progression, right? We're starting with me. I'm dealing with my relationships, and now I'm expanding to the team. And 4 is where some people can be like, oh, finally, you're starting to talk about this. 4 is advance the work. As a manager, like your job is, whether you like it or not, your job revolves around the word performance.
Yeah.
This team needs to perform. So if we've done all of the others and we've created a community where they're a good fit and they feel good, there's safety, there's belonging, that's all great. But our job is not to just create communities of belonging where people like to hang out. Our job is to accomplish a mission.
Yeah.
Right. And so a manager has to focus on what kind of work do we do? What's the shared work that we collaborate on? What are those process flows? What kind of meetings do we need to accomplish that? How do we make decisions? Who's involved in those things? All of those things are your job, right? It's the administration, it's the mechanics. And this is where, I mean, I bang this drum. This requires organization.
Yeah.
Okay. At the end of the day, a manager is an organizational leader. So we have to have the ability to organize the details of the work and actually maintain and build systems and processes that move us forward. And I recognize I say that, and I know immediately there's some managers that are like, oh, shoot, I can't do that. I'm not organized. I suck at this. I know some of that's personality. We're going to give you some practices that I think everyone can do. And honestly, this is the beautiful part. You're responsible for this, managers, but if you know you're self-aware enough to know that I can't do this, I'm kind of ADHD, I'm focused all over the place, embrace your strengths. That's okay. But just recognize that and then delegate it to someone on your team and make sure it's being done. So your responsibility is just to make sure it's being done. If you know you can't do it well, it's still your responsibility to make sure it's being done. So
I don't remember if you and I actually had, I feel like we did have a conversation that I got to do my first TEDx this year. And my TEDx is about, about being a bold flavor, but it's really about knowing your personality and then leveraging it in the workspace. So are you a paperclip, a magnifying glass, a teddy bear, or a slinky? And I went through all the different types, but what you just described is a perfect example of a slinky, somebody who's a little all over the place, a little ADHD, a lot of fun, great ideas, desperately needing a paperclip in their life to hold things together, right? So what I just heard is that going back to your number 3, that building a team is if you surround yourself with people who think exactly the same way you do, you are going to handicap yourself because no one is able to carry out the organizational side or build the creative side or whichever part might be missing. So I love that you not only address the build the team thing first, but then you recognize that although organization is a must, it's okay to tap somebody in on that too and help you with those systems. That's good stuff.
Yeah. And this is an area, honestly, where we don't intuitively understand how to do it unless it's been modeled for us or taught to us. So this is an area that I see a lot of managers of, honestly, read a book, take a course, read an article, get a coach, find out how to think in systems, map workflows. One of my favorite practices in here, I think it's my favorite because most people just don't talk about it very often, is all the different ways you can make decisions as a team.
Oh,
and nice. So often we resort to either I'm the manager, I'm going to make the decision, or we're going to throw it out into this environment in a meeting.
And brainstorm.
Unstructured discussion. At the end of it, we're not sure what result will be. And, the loudest voice will win and we'll just do that.
Yeah.
There are so many better ways to make decisions.
Yes, there
so
are.
Actually map that out step by step based on your scenario, which method is best for you. So what decision do you need to make as a team? Follow these steps. So I'm excited about that one.
That's awesome. And I think you're right, missing often is, okay, that's nice. And I know I should get input on these decisions, but I don't know how. And your book is going to be a beautiful place for people to get a one-stop shop for how to build the managerial system that will actually work. So 5, what's number 5?
Last one. So in our theme of we're slowly kind of widening the scope, this last one is about strengthening the organization. Okay, so as a manager, and we just have to get here because we often don't get here. As a manager, you're not just hired to strengthen the work of your function or your department or your team. You have now become someone who's on the leadership team of the organization. So as soon as you become a manager, your job is to strengthen this team, but it's also to contribute and help build a winning organization or an effective organization, right? And so that means I'm thinking about not only the relationships I have with my team, I'm really thinking about the network that I have in this organization. I'm building bridges with other managers that I need to collaborate with so that we're not building silos. I'm managing those relationships really well. I'm thinking about how the culture of my team impacts the culture of the organization and vice versa. I'm thinking about how the strategy of the organization flows into our team and what can we strategically do to most contribute to the success of the bigger picture. So we're kind of zooming out to say, how do we fit in the bigger picture? And the manager, I call them, you're the link role, right? So you don't see that on a job description. I'd love to see it more often after this book comes out. As a manager, you are the link between your team and the rest of the organization. So if there's a silo dynamic at play, that's actually on us to figure out how do we change that, right? How do I make sure I'm collaborating I'm cohesively connected with everybody else.
Oh,
right?
well,
So
you know
to
what?
me,
Your certification in organizational design professionals, CODP, is coming in handy here. And
I've tried to not nerd out on that too much in this section, but I definitely used the word systems a few times.
I think it's beautiful. And what I love is, to me, okay, so start with you, invest in your people, build your team, advance the work, and strengthen the organization. That's productive joy, right? Like that's
100%.
something that everybody can be a part of, that people feel empowered to be able to do, and it produces the best possible results. So I'm not going to ask you to define it, because I think you did just a beautiful job just now. What I am going to ask you to do is, how do you get people to create it?
How do I get people to create this?
All of that, right? Like, how do you get them to buy into the fact that they need this?
Oh, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of people are motivated when they see things breaking. Right?
That's true.
As much as I'd love to be motivated by mission and vision and all the good things we can accomplish, and that's really, I think, maybe where you and I live, Christie. It's like you can make work better. You can create meaning and value and joy and purpose, and so that's one, right? It's like just kind of catching the vision for that. Another is, helping people understand when we don't do these things, all of the symptoms that we see of broken workplaces, right? Silos, unresolved conflict, low productivity, mental health and well-being is suffering, high turnover. I mean, all of these issues come down to just a fundamental lack of focus on the core aspects of what it means to be a manager, right? So I don't know if that answers your question.
I think it answered it.
Really understanding the symptoms we're trying to bring some, let's say, healing to, but also catching the vision of where we're trying to go.
So listeners, if right now you can think of a couple broken pieces to your workplace, whether you are the manager by title or the leader by trade, you probably need to reach out to Dan, because he's got a really great system. So Dan, tell us where we can find You Can Manage, because my understanding is you can click right now and pre-order, right?
You can. I'm excited to say pre-order is ready to go. It'll be officially ready to ship at the end of March, but you can go to youcanmanage.ca right now and you can find details of the book and you can pre-order. So we're excited.
Or they can look you up on LinkedIn, and I'm sure you would send them a direct link, like, here it is.
Yes. And honestly, if you want to, I love connecting with people on LinkedIn. I'm engaging in, DMs and messages with people all the time. So if this is something that lights you up and you just want to learn more about, send me a message. I'll respond. Let's have a conversation.
I love it. Well, Dan, this has been just downright fun. Especially because you light up when you talk about this. It's so clear that you've dedicated your entire career to getting better. And now you've created a way for others to be able to follow in your footsteps and learn from the things that you've studied, figured out, blood, sweat, and tears, created, and now they can go and read it. And I'm so excited, and everybody gets to get it. But you said it comes out officially the end of March, but they can order it now, right?
100%.
So exciting. Okay, so I do have some rapid fire questions for you before we wrap. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
I'm excited, because my first question is, what's your definition of fun?
You know what? So honestly, the first word that came to my mind was novelty. And I feel like that's so basic physiology 101. It's like, if you put something new in front of me that releases dopamine, that's a lot of fun, right? So I like to travel to new places. I like to try new foods. I like to meet new people, right? So I'm one of the weird people where networking is kind of fun. So
I love it too.
So
I think that's part of your personality. Definitely. Okay. How do you know that you're showing up as your authentic self?
When I'm not being so serious.
Ooh.
That's one of I've learned this over the years. If I'm showing up in a way where, it's all just flat delivery and let's take this seriously and let's accomplish X, Y, and Z, that likely means I'm trying too hard to prove myself. There's some insecurity here. There's something where I'm feeling out of place and not myself, right? So if I'm showing up authentically, I'm a little bit more lighthearted.
I love it. How do you channel your best self on your worst days?
Well, two things. I mean, if I'm having a bad day, talking to someone always helps. Honestly, even if it's just like the barista around the corner at my favorite coffee shop, like like a 60-second conversation can just like totally turn my mood around. And probably more common is and I know this, other people will say this already, but like I ground myself in the why.
Yeah.
So if I'm feeling like demotivated and it's like, oh, I don't want to go into this meeting, or I'm just not energized over this project, I just take a beat and I'm like, okay, what do I care about here? Like, what would I like to get? What would I like to get out of this? And what value does this have? Right? Like, and I'll take a few notes and be like, okay, there's something here, right? There's something here that I can invest in. So I mean, all people are very purpose driven, and that's certainly true of me. So I have to ask that why question if I'm lacking energy at work, I have to ask the why question.
Love it. Well, I know that our listeners can walk away with all kinds of really brilliant things that you've said. And I also know that by nature, the adult brain can really only hold on to one major idea. So what's the major idea you want to leave people with today?
I would love for people to know that management is not only a huge responsibility. I know sometimes when I talk about it, it can feel like just a crushing, it's like, oh man. It's not just a responsibility, it's an incredible opportunity, right? So it's not a weight, it's a path forward. You get to do something for the people around you in your organization that others don't get to do. You have so much leverage and influence and opportunity. Embrace it. You're an influencer. Embrace that.
And what the kids these days, they all want to be influencers. So I guess any of us.
Yeah. I guess they want to be managers.
They didn't know it, but that's exactly what they wanted to do. Well, Dan, this has been a genuine delight. And I know that people walked away with all kinds of ideas. And so thank you for being the second ever return guest.
So privileged. Thank you, Christie.
Just plain fun. And listeners, again, there were so many nuggets of wisdom. If you did not catch any, you were not listening. So go back and listen. We do have a very clear framework for how we can manage. You can manage. So start with you and invest in your people, then build your team and advance the work. And then you've got to strengthen the entire organization in the process. And if you pick up this book, you too can not only do that, but have the practical pieces that will allow you to carry it forward. And today and every day, I need you to use something that you heard. Maybe it's just, oh my gosh, I don't really know my people, or what do I want, or what am I good at? I don't know what nugget you'll take, but if you don't change anything, nothing changes. So grab something today and do me a favor and figure out a way to turn fun into action.